So, with that said, we will begin the session, and it is called Impact and Trends on Energy Efficiency Programs. The focus of energy efficiency in recent years has created remarkable progress and engages everyone from legislators to utility companies, community leaders, and to each individual homeowner. On a national scale, and in Michigan, new building codes and statewide energy standards are driving builders and consumers to make more conscious decisions about building materials and remodeling priorities. To present and discuss this today, we have Sam Flannery. He's a partner in Building Science Energy Services, which we have given you your plug of the day. And Sam is a founding partner of Building Sciences Energy Services, BSES, a powerhouse of energy efficiency training, consulting, and implementation. They fuse their extensive industry expertise with a passion for innovative program design, comprehensive contractor services, cutting-edge technology, and world-class training programs. So without further ado, let me introduce to you Sam Flannery.
Thank you. Good afternoon. Can you hear me fine without that? Yeah. We have a smaller group.
You have to use the microphone because you're being recorded. Okay.
So it's always interesting when we get to talking about energy efficiency that the room thins out a little more than it does from the sexy solar and the other things, right? The energy efficiency is the foundation in which makes things work well. So we must stay focused on that. A part of the presentation today is going to show you a little bit of basic foundation in case you don't have it about energy efficiency. But some of the key things here are, we want you to understand energy efficiency drivers and investments. What are they in the state? Do we need them to continue? Most people that are involved in the energy efficiency community are full aware of Public Act 295. We're going to talk about that a little bit. Is that going to continue? What is that all about? How does it impact us? Should we continue with it? I also sat on a steering committee for the Energy Optimization Program for the Public Service Commission and the utilities. Basically because of our experience as a contractor before we ever started any of the training schools or anything like that. The key here is to have the real market drivers involved in the process of evaluating programs as they go forward. So we'll talk about that a little bit. Why energy efficiency programs are important to homeowners. Are they important? Why are they important? Should we change them, work with them? You know, just an overall education about them things. Different types of energy efficiency programs. Understanding how we can work together to create sustainable programs. Sustainability really starts with efficiency in a lot of cases, and we're going to go into some of them things. Lots of carbon emissions talk. There's talk of, and I've said in several sessions today, and they've been great. They've been really good, and it's really good to see so many people engaged in solving the big picture. Residential buildings account for a majority of the fossil fuel combustion. So well, let's just keep on moving with that. How many are aware of Public Act 295? Okay, pretty good representation. We won't spend a whole lot of time on that. How many of you know when that really doesn't sunset, but it has to be evaluated to be renewed or not renewed? When is that? 2015, that's correct. How many have participated in any of the energy forums around the state that were in the last few months? I know Larry did, several of you guys have done. We also, submitted a formal submittal on that. So Public Act 295 is really there to work on having cost-effective energy efficiency. It's part of a federal legislation mandated by the state, and the state adopted 295 to meet the requirements of ERPS. Let's not go into too much legislation. Here is the energy efficiency, the EERS that you see there in the middle right there is the Energy Efficiency Renewable Standard. What this is the investment from different Midwest states. In Michigan, we have one of the lowest percentage of investment in the energy efficiency program as anybody in the Midwest. Ours is 0.75% and 1%. A lot of them are 1 and 2%. Ours is 3/4 on the gas side and 1 on the electric side. So as you can see, there's a significant investment continuing in the Midwest through 2015. And ironically, that's when we're going to be looking at what as a state are we going to do. So we all need to be very interested and very anxious to see what the governor's energy policy is going to be. One of the big questions I have is, should the utilities really be the ones that are driving energy efficiency programs, or should it be someone else? And everybody has a different opinion on that. But the utilities are in the business of selling energy. So why would they want to reduce it? Right? Bottom line question. Why would they want to reduce it? Are they sincere about it? Are they not? You know, I'm not going to answer any of these questions, but they're all questions that are real. Because back in the 80s and 90s, we had an energy efficiency boom too, and it went like this, and then it went like that. And that was driven by utilities primarily. Should we continue with that, or should we find other ways that we should do it so it's sustainable? We have to have sustainable. Our building stock is terrible. The average building stock in America in the residential side was built in 1969. Have you been in a house that was built in 1969 and had nothing done to it lately? Lots of things need to be done, correct? So anyway, big investment. U.S. spending on gas and electric energy efficiency programs. If you look by 2025, there's some pretty good bumps. This is up from 27% in 2010 from the 2000. $6.5 billion to $15 billion, mid-range $9.5 billion. So there's going to continue to be support. And there's going to continue to be things that really focus and put investment in energy efficiency. My question is, and why I got involved in so many political things of the last 4 years, of looking at what they're doing and should we adjust it, and trying to provide a voice for the real community, from the contracting community as well as the homeowner community. Are we doing the right things with that investment, or are there better ways? That's the whole idea of the EO meetings that we have, the energy optimization meetings that we have monthly in this state. And if you haven't been involved in any of them, I would really encourage you to do so. They're in Lansing, and every month they're on a Tuesday. I think the third Tuesday, isn't that third Tuesday, Todd? Second Tuesday of the month they are. Get in there, listen to what's going on, and stand up and talk about it. I think there's better ways. I think we've found over the last 4 years there's a lot of better ways we could use that money, or we can look at energy efficiency. Because a subsidized program is never going to do market transformation. It just isn't going to do it. Can it start it? Can it support it? Can it stand it up on its feet? Most definitely. But if we're going to have a sustainable, because that's what we're here talking about, is sustainability. If we're going to have a sustainable energy efficiency push across all sectors, it has to be a market-driven. The market will respond to mandates and legislation, and there's a lot of controversial talk on that. But from a business owner and from business owners around the state and major corporations, we do a lot of things with Dow Building Solutions, with the other manufacturers and distributors around the state, to work with them and their initiative and look at the things that are going. You know, are them companies really behind an energy efficiency program? Obviously, they want to be, because they want to sell more products. But are we at the state doing the right thing? Are we incentivizing the right things? Are we incentivizing the wrong things? So here's some things I hope you can think about that. There's exponential growth going to happen in the Midwest. We do a lot of things in Illinois as well as other states around the Midwest, and you can see from the numbers here, only $200 million was spent on energy efficiency in 2004. Growth in the Midwest is expected to go nearly $1.7 billion by the end of 2015. That's a pretty exponential growth. So let's hope that money and that investment's not going to waste, right? We're easy as a country to spend it, but are we getting our full value back? Because this is our money that they're spending. If you ever looked at see the EO surcharge on your bill, this is really our money. And we put it in their hands and we say, here, we're going to reduce this. Because there is a perfect storm coming that's going to have to be dealt with, and that's the age of the grid, the age of the plants. All of that's a real factor. Take away the global warming issue, whether you believe that or not believe that, in some form or another, irrelative of that, we can't have a grid system and plants that were built 30 and 40 years ago continue to maintain. And then on the other hand, we're asking the utilities to reduce load, and they're running programs, and their plants right now across the Midwest on an average are running at 30% of their capacity. Because due to the down economy, there's a lot less electricity that needs to be generated to meet demand. And yet at the same time, we're asking the utilities to reduce. Doesn't make a big economic sense sometimes, right? So they're going to still be continued investment here. But the energy code, I believe, is going to be one of the bigger drivers than anything. Interesting story. The other day, a contractor a person come into our office that was doing a remodel, and he said, I can't get a permit without something res. I said, well, you're remodeling your house. He said, yeah, I need a res check done on my rehab project, or I'm not going to get a permit. I said, really? Because we're on the 2009 code here. In Michigan, some people voted to put off changing energy codes, because it's a controversial thing of the energy code. Should we have it? Should it be better? Should it be worse? Everybody's afraid that it's going to drive the cost of houses and everything too high, that we won't be able to afford to do the energy things. But trust me, people, based on all of the work I've done in Washington, D.C., and the work on the state level here as well as Illinois, utility prices will go up. They are going to go up. We enjoy relatively low utility prices right now, so it may not be a main focus, but they are going to go up, and that's just the way it is. So are we doing the right thing now to ensure? But you look at the Energy Code of 2012, that was adopted in Illinois as of January 1st this past year. So they're going through a whole new change there. That's really pretty interesting. So that's a good thing, I think, for residents. I mean, I have kids that are buying houses now and grandkids that are going to be in the next few years, and an energy efficiency healthy home is of a big priority. That's the biggest investment we all have, but we have to make sure that energy efficiency is a first. There's a certain loading order that should be done. You know what the #1 complaint about high efficiency furnace contractors is in this state right now, or in the country? What would you guess it would be? The #1 complaint to the Better Business Bureau about HVAC world on that is I bought a high efficiency furnace and my bill didn't go down. Why? Well, they're just wasting it more efficiently. They didn't do anything about the rest of the house, right? It's like I tell people all the time, if you don't air seal a house before you insulate it, it's like having a winter jacket on and you don't zip it up. I mean, you're still going to be kind of cold. You can have a really thick jacket on. So anyway, the energy code is going to help. How many? There are currently 42 states in the United States that have adopted some form of a statewide building energy code, and that's a good thing. The current residential energy code adoption status, you see Illinois here. We got some, a little bit out here, a little bit here. I got some really good friends in all of them places there. North Carolina is actually doing some pretty substantial things. They adopted it. It's not on this chart. They adopted a version of it. Each state will adopt the version which they want to have of the international code. So it's going. That's the current. Right here is projected building energy code adoption by 2015. So there's a substantial change in the chart in a lot of places. So these are going to drive energy efficiency initiatives as well as utility programs will. Are the codes the right thing to drive? Well, the reality is in the codes, yes, we have codes. However, they're enforced. Are they enforced all the time? Are they enforced well? Are they not enforced? That all affects the overall energy. The Harvard School of Public Health estimates there are over 46 million homes in the United States that are under-insulated. Opportunity is there. The opportunity is there, and that's due, you know, I had a builder not long ago had told me, he used to be a big builder in Chicago. He said back in the 50s, we actually talked people out of insulating their new houses because the energy was so cheap, there was no payback. So he said, you know, now it's not that, but interesting how things go. So what's a homeowner's perspective? Because ultimately, there is no market, there is no sustainability, there is no action taken without, in the residence side, without a homeowner taking on something. They have to decide that they're going to invest in that home. Now, a lot of talk about real estate, you know, energy efficient homes, and we've done pilots with, you know, utilities on having an audit done at the point of sale and the housing fixes put into the mortgage of the sale, and the payback works and the math works. And we did a lot of time and effort and put a lot of money into that. It didn't go anywhere because there's really no adoption from the real estate market, and the lenders aren't really familiar with it. And we boiled all that lesson learned down to one thing. Until there's a secondary market that buys the mortgages in the secondary market in bundles, because that's what they do, right? And the secondary bundle of market for mortgages, until there's a group of energy efficient homes that has this data that says this group of mortgages are much more secure because the homes are energy efficient, there will be not much movement in that real estate side of that. That's just the facts. I followed that trail 2 years ago all the way through Lansing, all the way through with some of the other states in Chicago and out to DC. And the big bear in the tree jumped down and told me the truth. So, doesn't mean we're not going to make some progress, but homeowners have the say. So make your home healthier and safer. Make your home more comfortable. Save energy, save money, reduce greenhouse gas, reduce our energy consumption, protect your largest investment, increase property value. Notice I have that one at the bottom because it's there, but it's going to be a challenge to get there. Do them things all drive people to do that? I talk to contractors and to companies and that all over the country often, and I tell them, if you just promote energy efficiency as a sales tool for your company, you better have skinny kids because you're not going to be able to afford groceries because that doesn't stimulate homeowners. Somewhere between all of our sustainable ideas and our government programs and our mandates by state and local government, somewhere between there and over there on that side of what homeowners are willing to pay to have done to their homes, in the middle of that somewhere is continuity. And that's what we're here, I think, today to really talk about overall. I was very impressed with what Mark Cleavy's done with the solar community things and the things that GLREA are doing there. That is just an incredible creative way to figure out substantial problems within an industry because it has been there. Larry's worked on it many times with the geothermal side. I was up and working with a geothermal contractor last week. There's lots of great things, but my point to you today is nothing happens until the private market is the driver here. It can't always be legislative. It can't always be mandates. It can't always be put on the utilities. If I were a utility, I wouldn't do any energy efficiency program if I didn't have to because I'm in the business to satisfy my shareholders. And I don't satisfy them by reduced revenue. So I'll leave it at there. Advantage of home, and trust me, I know them all well and have worked with them all a lot. From the vice presidents down to the people running the programs. And they're working, they're trying to live within it. But as you and I, who are living in our homes and out in the communities, and we're talking about efficiency and renewables and sustainability, there's a reality factor that you better have really pretty well seated that we're just playing games. We're just playing games. We have to have real market transformation. We have to do things and come up with creative ways like GRLEA did with Mark Cleavy on solving the solar thing. Okay, how do we make that work? That's an incredible opportunity. We needed to be doing the same things on the efficiency side. So the facts are for every dollar invested in retrofitting your home, it returns $3 in benefits. That's not a market driver. That's not a market transformation statistic. Somebody said it earlier in another session, homeowners react to pain. My wife does. I promise you, if it's hot in our house, that house is going to get cool. With or without me. One way or another, she's paying somebody to make that house cool. So, but it is an economic thing. So let's just keep rolling here a little bit and keep pointing. House as a system concept has really got to be the only way to do it. Did you all know? I had an interesting, a person out in Kansas City sent me an interesting article yesterday that Allstate Insurance are promoting a house as a system concept now for any work done on houses that they pay for. Isn't that interesting? Allstate is. So the house as a system is the right way, right? You want to do the first things first that make the most important things happen. And then Larry and I and his group of people have talked about it many times, is you have to really deal with the structure first. And then you do the mechanicals to make it as comfortable and energy efficient as possible. Then you start adding the renewables on there. Then you can have solar do it. Then you can have, the other things that go. Geothermal is a great way. There's ground source heat pumps in the south and the midpoint. All of these things have to happen in concert. It can't be just one thing. Okay, let's just put new windows in. Or let's just put insulation in the attic. Or let's put a new furnace in. It has to be a house as a system approach to really make it work efficiently. HVAC industry has had what they call a manual J for years. And that's an evaluation of what the BTU requirements of that home are in its current condition. If we change any one of the elements, the unintended consequences of one change in a house creates opportunity or problems with another part of the house. So we must eliminate the unintended consequences by looking at it as a system. How is that going to work together? And it matters not whether it's a residential or whether it's a commercial. It's really important for you to really always look at that. Don't let somebody come in and sell you windows. Don't let somebody come in and sell you just this or just that. Really look at the whole thing. The same thing as a medical field, right? Get a good physical first before you start making decisions on surgery. I had a stent put in here a few months ago, and I resulted of a good physical. I'm glad that, the good physical was there, and then they said, well, I got a few things wrong. Well, let's just start doing some surgeries and see how it turns out. I said, no, I'd prefer an overall plan here. I hate to be cumbersome for you, but I prefer an overall plan. What are we going to do next, and how are we going to handle that? We need to take the same approach with our houses or our buildings. Look at all these different things that happen to a house that all affect the sustainability or the efficiency of that home. Every single one of them has a factor. Not one can be left unattended. So if we truly want to be sustainable, and everything that we do and the way we approach things, we must approach them wisely. We must do it with an overall plan involved. Not just one without the other. Maybe in sessions, what should we do first? But that's the approach we need to really get across to homeowners, that we're not trying to sell them the whole thing that's beyond their budget, because they're not going to spend beyond their budget anyway. But how are we going to affect all these things in a good way? Where's energy used? We all know that. That slide's a little blurry there, isn't it? Either that or my glasses are off. Where's it used? Health and safety is a big thing. There's two ways that people sell things to homeowners, right? There's the high pressure community. Go in, high sales, high pressure, you see it all the time. Let's get them to buy, go, 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 and then hit and leave, all right? It's an approach that's done all over the country, here as well as everywhere else. Then there's the community that goes in and really tries to provide value to a homeowner so that they'll accumulate referrals because of the homeowner's happy. It's a slower approach, a little more solid. That's the two ways you really have this whole community work at the contractor level. And if you don't understand how it works at the contractor level, how are we going to design programs properly? How are we going to design initiatives properly? That's just like Todd and I've talked about many times. Todd does this stuff with Michigan Saves thing. We got to approach the solar side and the renewable side together. We have to reduce that load so it reduces the overall amount of capacity needed, which makes a holistic approach to it all the way. Same way in geothermal, same way in solar, same way in anything. So, but the health and safety's got to be looked at as we go. You look at the asthma in this country, all of these scary things. I prefer not to sell on them things, or really, but they are real. They are real. I've got a gal out in Kansas City that she's been after me for a long time. She says a home performance community that really looks at a house holistically or a building holistically needs to get involved in the home care business, because there's millions of people that are spending the last years of their life in their house. And they're not going and spending them somewhere else anymore. And the houses, she said, my mom and dad live in California, and my husband's mom and dad live in New York, and we live in Kansas City. Well, both of their dads had passed away in the last few years, so their mothers were left with the house. Who's going to take care of it? I wish we had a community of really good people that we could get involved with. So her and I have been working on things across the time to get that. Then he said, you know, she always told me, she said, Sam, did you read Cosmo magazine last week? I said, yeah, right. I sit down and read it every week. Yeah. No. She said, there's 18 million single women that are homeowners. What are they going to do? Their career and kids and houses have to be maintained. We need a good community of people that understand the system, because she really wants to understand, you know, have it done with systems. So what problems does a home have? Them are always the things that get homeowners to move. That's the pain we're talking about. Nothing really happens. Why is it? The construction industry has about 5 months to make their money, and the rest of the year they're trying to hope they survive to get to the next 5 months of bust again, right? That's why I always talk to utilities. I said, why don't you provide your incentives in the off-peak time when the product are incentivized so it helps the contractor, and it works that way there, and then when the contractors don't need the leads, back off in your rebate side and don't work at it then. It'll save you money. Common sense, right? Common sense isn't always welcome everywhere in the world. Ice dams, hot and cold rooms, drafts, mold, moisture, dust, and high energy bills. That's what drives homeowners to open up the phone book or the internet now and get some help. Using applications efficiently. You know, this is really important for you to look at. All of them things, and they're constants. That's the base load. Air sealing is probably the biggest thing that we can all focus on, and a lot of great talk on air sealing now. You know, don't put a jacket on without zipping it up. Sealing your home's air leaks. Most of the energy code deals with all of these items right here. You know, it's the gaps and the cracks. Interestingly enough, the way houses and buildings were built is where there was a changeover from the trade type to the next trade type, is where the lack of communication about continuation happened, and that's where the opportunity for energy efficiency improvements are. Well, the roofer says, well, that's the siding guy that did the venting under the office. He put the soffits on. I just put the ridge cap on. Well, did you balance the attic? Did you work that? And then the insulator says this, and then, well, I'd stop there, and that's where this, and that's where this one took, and that's not my, it's that guy. He's the one that did that. It's the furnace guy. I think it's the furnace guy's fault. But where all of them things happened and come together is where the opportunity for improvement is on a building envelope. Okay? We've trained hundreds of contractors in building science and all of them things, and it's really interesting that most of them that were builders for a long time, they fought the idea of having to do this, and they went through and you can't believe the number of them that come up to you and say, man, have I screwed up a lot of houses? I said, well, now you can get paid for going back and fixing them. I guess, I don't know. So interesting how that all works together. Air sealing recommendations. You know, just me, myself, and a lot of people, I just hate the word energy audit. It just freaks me out, you know. Audit just bothers me, the word audit. Do you like that? Audit. Freaks me out, you know. Y'all had a long day. I mean, you guys sleeping or what? I mean, you know. That's like the IRS saying, hi, I'm from the IRS, I'm here to help you. Really? You know, okay, wait a minute, let's get this audit word into assessment or something. But anyway, seal the mark. That's where right there, sometimes industry doesn't consult with the industry they're trying to sell to or they're trying to improve upon with terminology. It's like our IT people trying to build something that contractors want. I said, I'm down in the room, and it's like, this guy speaks Chinese, and this guy's speaking, you know, something else, and to try to get them to speak in the same language is an incredible feat. We don't do that well. If we want to be sustainable all across the board, we must have common language. Insulation is very simple. This is considered a thermal barrier for those of you that haven't traveled around in the building science community. I can't imagine you haven't heard somewhat of it, but insulation has to be continuous. Okay? Determine the insulation. Everybody says, what's better? Fiberglass or foam? Or mine's better, that one's better, this one's better. Let me tell you something. Every product works good given the proper application and the proper installation. They all are effective at doing the job that they were made to do. It's where the breakdown comes is when they were installed the certain way that didn't allow them to perform at the best rate. Okay? But there is really very important for you to understand what you're buying for where. You don't wear baseball cleats to the school dance. Same thing when you're looking at your house. Siding replacement, put foam behind it. Basement or foundation insulation is one of the biggest ones that we miss. In this whole state and country, it's one of the biggest ones we miss. Huge opportunity there if we just do that. Heating, cooling, and ventilation. We put them in the attic, we put them in the basement, we put them outside, all to take care of this. If the houses were made perfect, we wouldn't have this problem. What's a perfect house? A square block built with no penetrations through it. No doors, no windows. That's a perfect house. So we start messing it up by drilling holes and beating the holes and doing this. And I had mold in my basement wall in my attic on the walkout side. And I thought, you know, I bought the house. It was been setting for a long time, and I went in to start fixing things, and they never put any house wrap on the bottom side of it, or never did anything to handle moisture, and there was a deck over it, and I'm going, God, why did they do that stuff? Did it drive you nuts? Or don't you all ever look at that? I think, why did they? It would have took less time to do it right. And when you put a hole in to put the light outside, they took a hammer and pounded it through the OSB instead of a, I thought this was a builder. Whew. Kidding me. Heating system improvements. Yes, make them if your furnace is old. But before you do that, what's it going to be heating? What's it going to be cooling? Is that building in a good condition that maximizes it? 95% of the furnaces in this country and air conditioners are oversized. I call it the sidewalk approach. Let's see, 120,000 BTU. It didn't quite cover my thumb. That's how it's done. It's how it's done. Realistically, most houses that people live in America, 1,800 to 2,500 square feet, very rarely need more than a 40 or 50,000 BTU furnace, if the envelope is taken care of. And the majority of them have a 90 to 100. Well, the 90 worked pretty good. Let's put 100 in next year, and we'll last a little longer, maybe. Let me ask you a question. If it's too big, what does it do? Turned on, turned off, turned on, turned off. Okay? You know what homeowners, sometimes they'll call us and they'll say, I have got to have a new furnace. It runs all the time. Really? Is that bad? Oh yeah, it should shut off. I like it better when it shuts off a lot. Pretty good thought process, but let's talk about your car. Do you get better mileage when you start and stop in the city? Or do you get better when it's running all the time out on the highway? Oh, we get better when it's on the highway. House is the same way. Oh, really? Have a professional do a tune and clean on your heating system. That helps too. All things to think about. Cooling measures. Plant trees on the south side of your home to shade the windows and roof. That's true. Unless you don't like raking leaves. My dad cut every tree down within 2 acres of the house. He hated cleaning leaves. But anyway, there's lots of neat things we can do. On the cooling side, windows, everybody says, oh my gosh, you need new windows. You know why they want to buy new windows? It isn't to save energy. It's because they know that that improves the value of their home. Windows is a number 6 item on the list of the HBA on the most payback for the money invested in your home when you go to sell it. Now, the U value is the U value of the window. Glazing is glass. It's an equivalent R value of what? Huh? What do you say? 1. What's the R value of a 2x4? Well, 1.4. So if you line up the 2x4s it takes to make that wall and you stack them all together, it takes up 25% of that wall, doesn't have a lick of insulation to the outside. Put foam on the outside. That stops that thermal bridge. A lot of little things that if you think about don't really cost any more money, but windows are on the list for Because people walk in to buy a house and they look, oh God, we got to replace windows in this place. First thing, it's a draft. No, it's the fact that there's conductivity going through that window, and windows represent from 13 to 25% of the total surface area of the house. They have a U value of about 1. Triple pane goes to about 1.1. That's why you're cold by your windows. It's not because of the window, it's just the nature of it. But homeowners will buy money or spend money and borrow money to put new windows in because it makes the house more valuable, they think. And they're true. Single pane, double pane, storm windows, matters not. Any cracks. U factor is the inversion of the R factor. Free measures that save money. Turn the water heater down. Set the thermostat, turn off the lights. There's been lots of talk about this. Go to any utility website and they talk about all of this stuff here. All good stuff, common sense. My grandfather and my father-in-law and my dad, all of which are deceased now, were some of the best sustainability partners in the country because they grew up in the Depression. They had no choice but to be sustainable. We have one. But sustainability will put money in your pocket as well as efficiency and renewables. It's not a new concept. It's one that we have to embrace better. Low way cost to save energy. Lots of low way cost. Water saving. 2.5 gallon per minute shower heads. This helps save you money. According to our DEEM database, it's just equivalent to insulating your attic, which is not accurate. Seal the large leaks in the attic and the basement. Insulate the first 3 feet of hot water pipes. Install the hot water wrap. That's not so much applicable anymore because now they're foaming them so much, I don't think you could get that much out of it, you know. Energy efficiency programs in Michigan. So, in lieu of where I'm at and who I'm talking to, I must behave about this. So, we've had a lot of opportunities in Michigan to really make some good energy efficiency improvements. Right, Todd? Right, Larry? All of y'all that we know, you know, lots of opportunity. Michigan really wasn't going to go for that grant there, and I raised a little cane, and then pretty soon we went for it. We got one of the biggest awards from anybody in the country. We got $30 million to do energy efficiency programs, and it really was a pretty good program. It's over now, and there's a lot of things learned that we've learned from that do help the straight market driven. Contractors really don't care about dealing with rebates, the utility, because it's so costly and expensive to do. So what do contractors want the most anyway? They want leads. So I say give them leads and don't worry about the rebates. We're doing a pilot program with DTE Energy right now, and you're going to be blown away by the results of that pilot program. It's amazing. We've been running it for a year. We decided to utilize technology and utilize efficiency with contractors to streamline a program to bring down the cost of the utility programs for implementing energy efficiency programs. We want them to be out of the energy business. I mean, they shouldn't be in it anyway. It's their product that they're selling. Until energy efficiency becomes a resource, just like gas and just like everything else that produces things, utilities will never fully be behind it because it does not make economic sense. We're going to have an economics message here in a minute to you because I'm not saying they're bad guys. They're business people. They're selling power at a time when their demand is low, the capacity is over the top of what they got available, and we're asking them to reduce it. I said it earlier, I'll say it again. Are they the right ones to be running programs? I urged the governor when we were doing all that stuff, the state needs a good energy policy. Okay, not with mandates. My dad taught me a pretty simple economic thing about business. I'm going to give you a business advice. Sam, you get more flies with honey than you do vinegar. And another way that he always said it, you can always get the horse in the trailer with a cube of sugar and a piece of corn from the front, which is less hazardous than the back with a stick. Remember them things as you build business. Pretty daggum good advice from the old boy, would you say? But this Better Buildings for Michigan thing was good for Michigan. We did something to over 7,000 homes. We did a lot of commercial and industrial and public buildings. We created financing mechanisms out of some of this. We created 3,200 jobs, temporarily, unfortunately, on a lot of them, but some of them long-term. And the grant was completed this summer. Now, how do we carry that on? We decided to carry it on by the people that were employed by the Better Buildings program to do community outreach. I figure they like money too, so let's pay them to continue getting leads, and we'll give them leads to contractors, and they'll go do their work. Interesting how we're working with WMEAC and WARM to do all of that, and it's working. You're going to see a surprising study come out soon. We are actually going to prove that we got more jobs without rebates than we did with them on a program with DT. Stay tuned for that report. Utility energy optimization programs, it's because of the stick. There's the stick. EO surcharges includes all investor-funded utilities. They did a fine job. They're working with it. I know all of these people. I've worked with them all. I've argued with them. I agreed with them. And we still continue to work together with them. But the point is, for sustainability of any kind of a program, it cannot be run by them people, because that's the product that they're very selling. We have to find ways for you and I to stimulate it so it's a straight market-driven thing. They've done some very good things, and they're getting away with some things that we shouldn't be getting away with. But hey, business is business. Community-based programs are excellent. We've had a lot of really good ones around this state, and we're seeing more and more all the time. Sustainable programs in Ann Arbor and Grand Haven, lots of neat stuff. You look at what's been happening. So from the standpoint of the grants and the requirements and the mandates, that stimulates this type of activity, right? And that's a good thing on a short term. But if we're going to have sustainability, we must take them lessons and we must privatize them so the natural market will drive it. Not more regulation and more rules. That's my opinion. That's what we see across the country, and that's the feedback I get from almost every major company in the country. I was a national board member of Efficiency First, which is an organization across the country for residential contractors. And we embraced almost every major manufacturer and distributor and big box store in this country and talked to them about efficiency and, you know, how are they going to get behind it and drive, and we can transform the economy. How do we do that? Interesting what they all say. It has to be market driven. It has to come from the market and the benefit from people. I talked to Internachi here with the largest home inspector organization. I wanted them to come in and talk to the governor's office because Governor Snyder put out there that he wanted to have home inspectors give an energy evaluation when they did all their home inspections. That's the right time to do with the house. They had a meeting a couple weeks ago. We'll see where it goes from there. But then we take them leads that come from that and say, people say, yeah, I do want to do that. Get them into the people that we trained and we worked with through all these other programs in the state and give them the leads to go do their thing. That's a long, sustainable, market-driven program. Let the market work through it with itself. And it's great working with Warm or EcoWise now, right? Is that what they are, EcoWise? It's EcoWorks, sorry. That was the first time I heard it, so sorry. Bob will beat me over the head with a stick later, probably. But the neat thing about it is organizations like that and WMEAC, and we have things out of Michigan Saves, all of these different things that were born out of this stuff. Now you and I must get behind them, and we must find ways to continue that without the stick. What's the honey? What's the piece of corn? How do we keep it moving? How do we get people engaged? How do we get programs going? That's what sustainable programs really need to do. How do we transition into straight market-driven stuff? So lots of neat things. There's all kinds of neat stuff done. We're working out with participation, with employee outreach and publicizing results, employee deductions to pay for reduced costs of audit. I mean, there's just all kinds of neat creative things that have been done. Now we need to privatize them. Now we need to make them go. And that's what we really work on a lot. working together to make a difference. Education and awareness by communities and corporations, and like this event today, are important. But we also have to have a dose of reality. Okay? My dad said it's good to dream, but you must be real. Because any ideas that are out there that sound good don't always get transformed into the market. My brother and I invented a great product one time, and we were so excited about it. We spent a couple $100,000 on it. Got all fired up about it. Took it to the International Houseware Show in Chicago, bought a big old booth, put it up. It was just a fantastic product. It was a squirt bottle on a handle, and it squirted out up there so you could wash the windows down here without a ladder. It's a great product. It works great. Never went anywhere. Cost too much to take it to market. Cost too much to manufacture. We had Home Shopping Network fly a jet into Grand Rapids, pick us up, and took us to Miami and put a marketing thing together. Says, all we got to do is you got to make that product for $5.95. I went, are you kidding? We have $20 into it. Well, that's the only way it'll ever go. We got to sell for $19.95 and we give 2 of them. $200,000 down the drain. I went, oh, that's good news. My point is this. You must do a little planning ahead of time to see what the market wants. And the market will bear before you spend $200,000 on something. If we're going to ever scale sustainability, we better be in tune to the market. Because what we think is right and what we think will sell, or what people will do, or what we think we can get them to do, in most cases is not a true version of what you think, but a portion thereof which you can build a successful plan around. That's where I see so many mistakes made from California to Tripoli. We're working with a partner in California right now, one of the biggest organizations that's done training out there, and I'll give you one finishing story and we'll take questions. They've worked down there and they've trained and they've done sustainable programs and they've worked on all kinds of things. They're a great organization. They're rebranding themselves, and we're working together to help them with some things, and it's pretty neat. And you know what? California has got the same exact problems with scaling energy efficiency and renewables as we have here. And they've been wielding a big stick for years, and it still is not moving. It still is not moving, because what you and I believe and what the market will bear, my friend, are lots of times 2 different things. So, continued support of energy optimization legislation. Yes, I would say so. But it needs to be better managed and better directed. Lots of good ideas about that. Some of the people are paying more and getting the least. Some people are paying the least and getting the more. It doesn't always work that way. Can we make that work? Maybe. But I think we need to get the utilities out of it. Adoption of the 2012 code will help. Energy efficiency awareness during real estate transactions. It's gaining ground. We're going to test it here in Michigan with a pilot. They did it in Colorado and it worked really well. Community program awareness and support like you're doing this week or today. And then working together to increase the goals and the consumer awareness. I urge you, I'm a capitalist that is a business owner all my life. And we sell things to homeowners as well as many, many things do. That's what makes Michigan work. All of the community and the faith-based and the nonprofit organizations and the universities and all of the people that have an agenda like this organization for sustainability, I urge you, bring them to the table, talk to them. That's how you'll scale something very large. Without that, good ideas and 50 cents will get you a cup of coffee. Well, without the 50 cents, sometimes you're dead in your feet. So engage all players, and I think you'll find that they're willing to do things too. So with that said, I appreciate you having me in. I usually only get invited to places once, so it was great being here. I always tell everybody, I make everybody happy when I talk. Some of you happy when I start, and some of you happy when I shut up. So if you haven't been happy yet, your time's here. Thank you for your attention. Appreciate it. Yes, sir.
So let me just give a little perspective on why utilities do energy optimization program. I don't need a mic.
Okay.
Everyone who knows me knows I'm just loud with nothing else.
I wasn't going to say anything, but
Yeah, that's true. So basically, everyone puts a surcharge. Everyone on the bill pays a surcharge. The utility doesn't spend a penny of their own money. They collect 50 to 75 million bucks to promote themselves and put TV ads out saying, look how much we're helping you with your energy bills. So they're not spending a penny. They're getting 50 to 75 million dollars in free advertising. It gets worse. The goal the first year was 0.3%, which means if you had a $2,000 energy bill, all they have to do was save $6 a year to meet their goal. That went up dramatically to 0.5% the second year, which is $10. If I told you in a seminar that I'm going to save you $6 a year, you'd laugh me out of the building. You know, like, who cares? But by making those goals, which are incredibly minimal, utilities were paid millions of dollars in bonuses, like $10 to $50 million in bonus. So they didn't spend a penny of their own money. You got 50 to 75 million dollars in free advertising, and then got made a profit of $10 million on bonuses. That's why utilities do energy optimization programs. Something is very wrong.
Well,
I think they should be doing energy optimization, but I think the goals should be so much higher than half of 1%. That make them earn it and make them really do good stuff, not do this low-hanging fruit and minimal goals. Anyway, that's
well, and that's partly our fault as a state. You know, I don't blame them necessarily. They're in business to satisfy shareholders. It's a good deal for them, okay, and it's a good deal for some of the ratepayers as well too. A lot of people have had very good beneficial things done. It's not that it's bad all the way across the board, but Grandpa always said, you know, never employ a fox to watch the hen house. So what we got to do is we got to find ways that it better works for them. And I've talked to them quite a bit, and there's a group of them that are working to find a way to turn energy efficiency into a resource so that they can actually benefit from doing energy efficiency without being beaten up by their shareholders. Because their shareholders ultimately are the ones that really make the decisions. And if it's not a good, profitable thing for them, they're not going to do it. I mean, it's just common economics, people. We can't blame the utilities for necessarily doing it that way. We can blame ourselves for letting them have such a system. That's why I say Public Act 295 is not bad. It sounded like it when Larry said it. But, you know, it's our fault. It's not bad. Let's just fix it. Let's just fix it. He didn't mean ill there or bad about the utilities. It's the system that we have, and it's the part that we did. So we need more people to get involved so we can adjust it, we can fix it, and everybody will be happy. Yes, sir.
I've been doing this for 40 years now. We're still talking about the same things. Windows, lights, insulation, sealed building. So is energy so inexpensive in this country that we don't care about doing that?
That's, you know, the price of energy, the cost of energy right now is not helping us in this industry for sure. But there again, remember this, most homeowners do not make decisions based on lowering their energy cost. They make them based on comfort, solving problems, health and safety things. We need to be smart enough to do them things that homeowners are willing to pay for and businesses are willing to pay for, and then automatically extrapolate out of that the energy savings calculations and the energy savings tracking data to then satisfy the federal regulations. And we're working on that with some pilots as well as all of us in the room. So.
It's true, because I put windows in my house and insulation because it makes the fuel warmer.
Right.
And
Well,
because it's quieter.
Yeah. It's worked.
And save energy too, but
Yeah. But you didn't really
big
count that.
benefits are quiet and warm.
Yep. And that's why we have to be smart. We can get lots of energy efficiency, you know, but we got to take it out without somebody having pain to give it to us. Does that make sense? We got to track that energy efficiency improvements that were made on that house and the regular course of somebody doing something that they wanted to do to their house, and we need to report that. The problem is we're not reporting it. I went and found 3 contractors that are friends of mine, and I said, how much work do you do? And we recorded it all, and it was 85% of the total savings goal on the residential side for one of the major IU utilities. They never turned one form in to do rebates because it was too much of a hassle. That's 3 contractors in Grand Rapids that counted for 80% of the total savings goal for a utility. But they didn't play. We must find better ways to captivate it, not just make the utilities do it. Does that make sense to y'all? I mean, let's be fair to them. I mean, I wouldn't vote for it either if I was on the board of a utility, would you? You'd be nuts too. You'd be off the board. So, any other questions? Thank you very much for your attention. Thank you, sir, for your